massive 2 weeks for you. It's been, hasn't it? Premier League man of the match in your first Premier League game. Can't ask for anything else, can you, mate? What was that experience like, first of all? Walking out knowing that you're live on Sky Sports. You played at that stadium before in an FA Cup game, Merseyside derby, but Premier League's got to feel a lot bigger, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, when you talk about playing live on TV and stuff, I've done that before. Like you said, the FA Cup game, a lot of games when I was in Germany on loan there were also live, so that wasn't really crossing my mind as much. But like you said, my previous game in the FA Cup, it was a much younger side, probably less to lose in that game than there was in this game, playing against West Ham. So yeah, maybe a bit more pressure in that sense. But to be honest, I was just really excited. I found out on the Thursday that as long as I didn't get injured before the weekend, then I would be playing. So I was just looking forward to it and looking forward to the challenge, and obviously happy with how it went.
Because you had those, you went on 2 pre-season tours, didn't you? Was it 2017, 2018 when you went to the pre-season with the first team, was it?
Yeah, so this pre-season just gone was my third.
Your third one, yeah.
Team. So obviously we didn't go as far afield this year because of COVID, but the previous 2 we toured the States.
Because those ones, that first one, obviously you're mixing it up with big sides. Weren't it like Man City, United, Dortmund, those sorts of teams? So you're mixing up with guys that you've grown up watching on television, obviously being a fan of. So I'm guessing all those years, obviously Stuttgart we'll get into as well. You've got to be feeling like you can mix it up with the best in the world by this stage now, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, when you first get that exposure to that standard of player and, the names that you mentioned, it is obviously like takes you back a bit because, like you said, as a kid, you've watched these guys playing growing up and the big names, and all of a sudden you're sharing a pitch with them, and it's an amazing feeling and sort of a dream. But then that side of it probably you just get used to. The more time you spend with them and spend time training with them, and it becomes a bit more of a normality, and that side of it sort of wears off. Obviously, you're still thankful every day that you have the opportunity to do that, but you get used to it like anything in life where you do it repetitively, and that's a good thing because it probably takes away the nerves a bit that you might have in those first few sessions where you are training and playing amongst top names.
So we mentioned you playing alongside and against people that you've grown up aspiring to be playing alongside and against, and then on the flip side of it as well, your coach Jurgen Klopp obviously had great things to say about you after that, and he's had great things to say about you throughout these years as well, really, hasn't he? But on a stage like that, to say that you're a monster in the air, and then to get interviewed by Match of the Day afterwards as well, that's got to be another tick off the list as well, hasn't it? To see the likes of Gary Lineker and that talking about you. Is that something you pay attention to, or is it just try and push it aside a bit?
Well, I'll answer your question about interviews and media coverage now. I went home and watched Match of the Day that evening because I wanted to watch it back. I was looking forward to watching it back and looking forward to seeing if they had anything to say. And obviously I knew I'd done an interview, so I wanted to watch that back and make sure I'd done everything right on that front as well. Because sometimes, especially directly after a game, you do an interview and you're still rushing with adrenaline that all sorts can come out, and you might forget what you've said, or think you've blurted out nonsense and think I should probably watch that back, make sure everything checks out. So I'd done that in the evening. When you ask, do I pay attention to it? I think it depends who's talking, really. When it's people like Jamie Carragher, Graham Souness, on Match of the Day, I think it was Danny Murphy, Gary Lineker, maybe another person as well in there. These are all experienced pros who've played at the top level. So anything they've got to say is valuable and something that you can listen to and try and take stuff from. So yeah, I would in those situations. But at the same time, in a lot of cases, you will see certain criticisms or feedback, or even positive feedback, where you can't buy into it too much, whether it is negative or positive. Especially with the way like social media is now, everyone can voice their opinion, and I think it's important to try and remain level-headed in the situation that we are in.
And obviously, you've been at a few clubs, like we said, Bolton Wanderers throughout your whole youth career, and then you've had managers at school, you've had managers at Stuttgart and Liverpool. So when we look at Liverpool and we look at Jurgen Klopp, one of the most renowned managers in world football, and he was, even when we were back in school, he took Dortmund to the Champions League final when we was, I think, what was it, like year 10 or 11 or something. So obviously everyone's been fully aware of this man for a long time. What actually separates him behind the scenes to everyone that you've ever worked with in terms of his man management skills and everything?
I mean, like, this is a question we get a lot, or even just people who I'm chatting to out and about will ask about him. And my answer is always the same. He's just how he is, how you see him on TV and those interviews. Is exactly the same as he is there, as he is around the training ground. He's just a great guy. He's done so much for me and so much for my career. The loan with Stuttgart, for example, last year was massive. I mean, just placing his trust in me to play against West Ham, I can't thank him enough for. And the past few years, he just helped me out a great deal, and I'll be forever grateful towards him for that. But when you talk about his man management, I think he's just managed to sort of create an atmosphere and a dynamic with the players where, like, you're desperate to impress him, you're desperate to do him proud. But he sort of, like, you can have a friendly chat with him and a friendly joke with him, but at the same time, he, like, commands respect throughout the club and authority, and you would never want to get on the wrong side of him, and you'd never want to let him down.
When we just talk about your career as a whole, like, conventional isn't a word that you use to go alongside of it. Everything that's come with it has been completely unpredictable, and kind of a lot of the best things that's happened to you have been very spur of the moment, last minute. And do you find comfort in those unpredictable moments and not knowing what's around the corner, or are you just grown to have to be accustomed to it now?
Yeah, I would say the second. So I've just learned how to live like that. I mean, in general anyway, like, if people are trying to make plans with me, you know, talking on a small scale, people trying to make plans with me and stuff, I'm always the guy who's saying maybe, because you never know when you might be training, or fixtures might change. Or, for example, I didn't know where my future lied over the summer during the transfer window. So, you know, I come back from Germany, I wanted to get myself a place, but I didn't want to sign a contract on a place to rent and then end up moving to a different country or a different part of this country where I wouldn't be living in it. So that sort of unpredictability, I think a lot of players live with anyway, especially young players who haven't fully established their careers yet. And you learn to live with it and deal with it. It's something that probably is there when you're 16 and onwards, but grows more so to a point until I think you nail down your career and a club and you're fully established. But even then, I wouldn't say, I don't imagine there'll ever be a point in my career where I feel completely safe and secure, because you go into training every day, competing for a place in the team at the weekend, so it can all change so quickly. So I think that's probably quite the nature of the career, unpredictability. But I would agree with you in that I think a lot of the things that have unfolded for me so far in my career have probably been a bit more unpredictable than others. But I mean, so far, all the unpredictable occasions have been nice ones, so I can't
Yeah.
complain whatsoever.
Definitely paid off, mate. And then when you mentioned going to Germany, obviously we've seen a lot of English transitions to abroad, whether it's Germany, Spain, France. And when you look at your experience with Stuttgart, helping them to promotion, you take into factor learning a new language, getting accustomed to a new city, trying to win over a new fan base in some respects, and getting to know your teammates as well. How much was that to take in initially, and then as opposed to where you were at when you were leaving? How confident were you in comparison to when you were leaving as a player?
Yeah, so it was a lot to take in, I would say. Last year was very big for me in terms of like there was a lot to deal with moving out. Like you said before that, I lived with my parents. It was a nice, cozy lifestyle. So I'd gone from that to moving to a different country, having to learn the new language, new set of players, new staff, new city. So it was a lot at once, but I was looking forward to it and I welcomed it, and I knew it was really difficult, like especially before Christmas settling in, it was really tough. But I knew all along how much it would benefit me, so I just sort of got my head down and battled on, especially before Christmas. And then when I went back after Christmas, after that winter break they had, I felt much more settled, knew more of the language, had made friends, got on with my teammates well. We had a new manager after Christmas who I got on really well with, and we probably started playing a bit better as well. And I became more established in the team, which was a massive factor in how happy I was feeling. So I think last year was huge for me for a variety of different reasons. Football development, playing in front of big crowds every week. You know, Stuttgart, the capacity is like 60,000. We're getting 50,000 each home game, their home ground. So playing in front of big crowds, the competition and holding your place in the team as well. Probably the first time I've ever had to do that really on that level, because when I was training with the first team previously, it was never really realistic to think that I was going to be competing for a first team place, and I would have been relying on injuries and suspensions to have got a place. So that was new. So various different things were challenging and new, but I came out of it better, and it's prepared me, I think, for a career in football a lot. And I think it was really a really invaluable experience.